I'm not good at this. So is this sound okay? Okay. The mic or me? Okay. Scooch. Okay. Good morning, everyone. Okay. In a now famous experiment, two social psychologists at Princeton University in 1973 wanted to examine whether thinking religious thoughts would have any effect on helping people. They considered Jesus' parable of the Good Samaritan and how strange it is that it's not the religious guys, the priest and the Levite, who helped the man in trouble. They passed right on by the other side. They also wondered what effect hurry would have. Maybe those two guys were late for the temple, while the Samaritan had no such rush on his mind. So they set up an experiment for seminarians in training there at the university and split them up into two groups who would all be sat down and asked to prepare a 3 to 5 minute talk. Half of the students were asked to prepare a talk on what kinds of jobs they thought ministers might do practically. The other half were also given the story of the Good Samaritan and told that they had to incorporate it into their talk. This was to get some people specifically thinking on issues related to God and helping people. Shouldn't that make them more likely to help someone if they see the need? After they worked on their talk for a while, an assistant would come in and give them a map pointing them to a building across campus. Sometimes the assistant would say, "It'll be a few minutes before they're ready for you, but you might as well head over now." In other words, no rush. Or to others, the assistant would say, "Please go over now. They were expecting you minutes ago." In other words, hurry it up. Along the way, the researchers had stayed an incident. An actor was sitting slumped in a doorway, head down, eyes closed, not moving. It looked like the person really needed help. The actor would cough as the students had to walk by him on the way. Each time one of the participants would pass the victim, the actor would rate the participant's response using a scale 1 to 6. The lowest score a person could get meant that he failed to notice the person at all. A higher number on the scale equated to possibly stopped and asked if the victim needed help. 6 marks was after someone stopped, refused to leave the victim, and/or insisted on helping. Now, it's no surprise to me that hurry affects helpfulness. Ministry students in a rush were much less helpful toward the person in need compared to those in no rush to get to the building. People concerned about being late either didn't notice or failed to help. But remember, they also studied whether it mattered that some of the students were actively thinking about the Bible story and the religious virtue of helping others. How much did that matter? It didn't matter at all. Students on their way to give a talk about the parable of the Good Samaritan were no more likely to give help than students going to an unrelated talk. even though we might expect this should have made a difference. There was no evidence of any difference in practical helpfulness between the two. In fact, the researchers noted on several occasions seminary students going to give a talk on the parable of the Good Samaritan literally stepped over the victim. Readers of the book of James will soon notice that he pulls no punches. In chapter 1, we are told, James 1:22, do not merely listen to the word, and so do you deceive yourselves. Do what it says. Don't just say, I'm a learner. Be a doer. Scholars agree that James is the most Jewish book in the New Testament, written mostly to a Jewish audience. So perhaps this statement highlights a clash of cultures. The differences between Hebrew and Greek thinking. James is a Jew writing to Jewish Christ followers, now scattering across the world, ruled by Romans with a Greek mindset like ours. Here in the 21st century West, our philosophy is shaped by Plato and Aristotle, much more than Jesus and the Bible. That's why we need to have our minds renewed by the Word and the Spirit to think and live biblically. Why would James say, don't just listen, do? Now, Pastor gave me this story to read, and after I read it, I thought of a song by Casting Crowns that was done several years ago. And some of the words have stuck true to me, and it sort of, I thought, fed in with this story. So if we are the body of Christ, are our arms reaching? Are our hands healing? Are our words teaching? Is our love showing there is another way?